fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio. Wild Style Radio.
What is up, and welcome back to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show with Wisk and Kev, coming to you live from Salisbury Center Studios on the Wild Style Network, fueled by Monster Energy.
Always good to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, always great.
We just talked to Spread Eagle.
That was cool.
I gotta say, it's a nostalgia trip. You turned me on to a lot of bands in my life, so I have to give you love and appreciation for that. And they were one of them.
They were. It was cool when when this show came up. I was like, holy fuck, this band is still around.
Right.
So,
and we talked to Rob DeLuca. We didn't talk to him about his experience in UFO because we were keeping it about Spread Eagle, but that is kind of another icon that we wind up talking to.
So yeah, and when I first heard that he was in UFO, I had a different, because I didn't know, hadn't associated the name Rob DeLuca, which kind of knew he was in Spread Eagle.
Yeah,
but I guess during that downtime that he spoke about is when he jumped in UFO when the original bass player left.
Right.
And so he's performed on their two most recent albums and has toured with them, and at least in his bio on Wikipedia, it says he still tours with them. But
sure,
I imagine the majority of his time was devoted to Spread Eagle.
With George Lynch also. Of course.
George Lynch,
right.
Yes.
Another one of our favorites.
But he's also he has a pretty extensive studio musician background.
Right.
So I don't think he actually did live performances with Lynch Mob.
Right.
But I think was in the studio, recorded with them. Yeah. And Joan Jett and
yes.
Yeah. So
badass.
Yeah. Very cool.
That was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. So we're shifting gears a little bit, and I think that we're going to really make this conversation focus about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
All right. Which is, I don't know if it's a fun topic. We're trying to make this a fun topic because you usually get angry when we talk about the Rock and Roll. I'm not trying to goad you into being angry.
I can be angry for sure.
Right. Well, I mean, I've called it the Rolling Stone Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And that's, I really feel like, we're talking about what Rolling Stone magazine specifically, not Rolling Stone the band, but Rolling Stone magazine likes. And so you never know, you kind of know what they like, but you never know when they're going to bend and twist. But all right, but before we get into one kind of aspect of it, I'll talk about this year's nominees, because I'm just kind of curious for you.
Because they just came out.
Right. So there's a fan vote that's happening right now. So if you just do a search for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame fan vote, I already got you going, you can choose 7 of the acts to vote for, and I'm curious as to who your 7 would be.
Okay.
So I'm going to read them off, and you could tell me yes or no right out of the gate, and I'll tell you your number. So Peter Frampton.
Yes.
Okay. Kool and the Gang.
Maybe so.
All right, so I'll put that on hold. Sinead O'Connor.
No.
All right. Lenny Kravitz.
Absolutely.
All right, so you got 2 for sure. Sade. Sweetest Taboo.
No.
All right, Dave Matthews.
Ooh, that one's tough.
This is an interesting one for you specifically because for all of your thrash metal, this is where the kitten in you comes out.
This was this is kind of the grungy phase. Not that they were grunge, but they're one
local.
Of the alternative bands that was running around towards the end of the college.
And they're local to us.
They are.
Yeah.
I'd probably say yeah.
Okay, so you have 3 on your ballot. Cher.
Yes, but I'll hold off on that until the latter part of what we're going to talk about.
All right, well, I'm going to give you a maybe. Is that a maybe or is that a yes?
Well, I think I think she should be, yes.
Okay, so that's a yes. So you're up to 4. Ozzy.
Fuck yeah.
Oasis.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm surprised by that. Mariah Carey.
No.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
Tribe Called Quest.
Ooh, they're good.
I know, right? But it gets into you can get into this philosophical.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
They belong in the Hall of Fame.
I'll say no.
Okay. Jane's Addiction.
Yes.
I had a feeling that was coming. All right. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 1 vote left, and you have 3 acts left.
Okay.
I'll give you the 3 acts, and I'll let you tell me. You have Eric B. and Rakim, Mary J. Blige, and Foreigner.
Foreigner should be in.
There's your 7. So you have Peter Frampton, Lenny Kravitz, Dave Matthews, Cher. That is the shock vote for me, from you. I would have never guessed that you would have voted for Cher.
Well, I mean, she's got history, right? You know, early rock and roll, her and Sonny Bono. You know, I think if you ran down a list of people who are not currently in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and you threw her name out, people would be surprised that she wasn't already in.
All right, there's your ballot. So mine's not overly different. I'll reveal mine. I don't have Peter Frampton, but I have Sinead O'Connor.
Okay.
All right, I got Lenny Kravitz. I do not have Dave Matthews. I do not have Cher. So right now I have Sinead O'Connor, Lenny Kravitz, Ozzy Osbourne, Jane's Addiction, Tribe Called Quest, Foreigner, Eric B. and Rakim. I will be okay with rap in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know that probably will piss some people off, but those are two great rap acts. And, you know, is it the sound of rock and roll that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or the philosophy of rock and roll that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I think it should be both. The problem is that when I first saw this list, aside from a couple, and even some of the more hard rock bands that we like, I would say yes, but not at the expense of the other rock bands that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But when I looked at the list, the first thing that came to my mind, now that Jan Wenner has been booted from sort of running everything, this to me is like trying to be PC and overcorrective.
Yeah.
Because of things that he said and did, people that were being overlooked. So now it seems like we're going too far to try and put certain acts in that probably aren't as deserving as others, is my opinion.
If you had one ace in the hole, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame came to Kevin and said, put one in. You could put one of those people in from this fan ballot. Who would it be?
From that fan ballot?
From this fan ballot. From this year's fan ballot. It's a tough one.
It's tough. I mean, you know.
You're going to go with Cher?
No. I would probably say Foreigner or Peter Frampton.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you got to choose one.
So Peter Frampton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That surprises me. I didn't know you were like that big of a fan.
I'm not a huge fan, but I mean, knowing what he's done in terms of his rock history, I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and probably more so than anyone else on that list.
I'm going to go with Jane's Addiction as my number one.
Okay.
They came to me.
Yeah.
They changed rock and roll.
They did.
And a classic definition of rock and roll. They were the first big alt rock band that paved the way for grunge. They were before grunge.
Oh, yeah.
They paved the way for so much alt rock before alt rock was the thing that it grew into the 90s.
Or, you know, them and Mother Love Bone. They were the two that were out on the forefront of that.
Right. But people like sales, right? I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And Jane's Addiction just doesn't have the sales of a lot of the other acts. And so I don't know if they'll ever get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're huge. They changed the way I listen to rock and roll for sure. So, all right. So with that being said, who cares about what we do or say or think? You know, we'll kind of slide into the other piece here. And the other piece is, I'm getting to my notes here. I got my notes here today, Kevin.
Okay. I have no notes.
It doesn't matter, right? You have a ton of notes.
That was for Spread Eagle.
Oh, I'm ambushing you with my notes then. No, so like if it doesn't, like I said, doesn't give two shits about what we do or think. Have you been voting? I've been voting.
No.
You can vote every day. So that's just another thing. If you're really going to,
I'm boycotting voting because I've done it like the last 4 or 5 years. And when you look at the polls, there are bands like Iron Maiden should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And when they've been in the fan ballot, they've been one of the top 5 acts, and they're still not in the fucking Hall of Fame.
I get you. There you go.
So it's like, why have a fan vote if the fans don't have any say-so in who gets inducted?
Right. And that I'm glad I set that up because that just leads into the conversation we're about to have. And I think, John, you just threw up all the inductees. I think I just saw that flash on the screen. So if you heard me read that list over too quickly,
yep, there they are.
John just did a very good job of making sure you see everyone.
How does the fan vote work? Does whoever the fans vote for, like number one, does that get it, or does that only a point and like whoever makes the decisions like picks.
I don't think
It's just a
even
simple,
taken into consideration.
Yeah, it's considered a recommendation, by the Hall
silly then.
Yes,
Yeah.
by the Hall of Fame voters. So, right. And as of right now, Ozzy leads the fan voting.
Okay.
Just as a side note. And
Well-
that's very deserving.
And if things fall through on our friend Binky's death pool list, he may be a slam dunk to get in.
Very true. Very, very grim, but very true. All right. So, but there's a whole nother side to this, which is the artist side.
Yep.
And artists have strong reactions, like you just had a strong reaction. And they determine, whether or not they're going to accept the induction. They may just say, fuck this. It's not fair. I don't think that it's not only recognition about me, but about even other acts or other people or music in general. So I don't want to be a part of it. So you saw last year, probably the best example was the Dolly Parton drama.
Yeah,
Which
that
was strange.
2 years ago.
Oh, it was 2 years ago? I thought
Yeah.
that was last year. Oh, well then.
They went in with when Judas Priest got
That's
their
right, that's
induction,
right.
which was also bogus.
Right.
They're not a full member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Correct. Yeah. So Dolly said.
But Rage,
That's a great. I'm going to bring up Rage in a couple seconds. So you're good. You're ahead of the class. So congratulations.
thank you.
Right. No, but Dolly turned it down at first.
Yep.
And then somehow was coerced to take it, and she took her induction and she came in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And then she finally released a rock album.
Right. Okay. You bring up the obvious. I'm gonna ask John to jump in on this one too, because I'm always curious. Because John, you don't know that this was coming. We were going to talk about this today. He's been a part of our kind of conversations with things like this from time to time. It's always good to know what John thinks.
Okay.
On all of this too. So I'm going to give you a band name. I'm going to give you an easy one at first, and I'm going to ask, would they do it? Meaning, would they take the induction in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Would they do it? Iron Maiden, would they do it?
I feel like it's a no-brainer. They should be. Whether they, I'll say yes. They'll do it.
That Iron Maiden would
take
do it?
They would do it.
Yeah.
That they would take the induction?
I think they would.
Wow, I thought I was giving you guys a softball in the beginning. All right. Bruce Dickinson told the Jerusalem Post in 2018, "If we're ever inducted, I will refuse. They won't bloody be having my corpse in." Man, I can't read it. "If we're ever inducted, I will refuse. They won't bloody be having my corpse in there." Not course, but corpse. "Rock and roll music does not belong in a mausoleum in Cleveland. It's a living, breathing thing. And if you put it in a museum, then it's dead. It's worse than horrible. It's vulgar. Hell no." You think they'd live up to it? That's a lot of swag.
I think it's great to say that, but the publicity that would come from being there, I think, he could use that as a platform to make that same statement.
All right.
I think he would do.
I'm surprised. I thought you guys heard that from Bruce Dickinson. I thought you
I had heard that.
Oh, but you were
There's
going
another
against
one
it.
you're probably going to go to, and I got an opinion on that one too.
All right. We're going to go to the My Love of Loves, Soundgarden. Would Soundgarden do it? Would they take the nomination into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I think that one, yes, as well. Because lead singer of Soundgarden is
Chris Cornell.
Yeah, and so with him passing, I feel like the family probably would like to, give more, recognition on him for the younger fan base that might be discovering him post, death. Because I feel like when musicians pass away, they get this whole other audience, and I think it helps keep their band and their story and their sound alive for future generations. So I feel like whoever's in charge of that estate for him would probably push forward. So I'd say yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I think they would.
On the yes from the nostalgia factor. It's kind of the driving factor.
Yeah.
John, you are on point. Kevin, you're smart to follow. Because this is a quote from Kim Thale. "It was not on my radar. I hadn't been thinking about it in terms of the band's 2023 nomination, but it's very pleasant surprise and very cool." So he's very happy to go along with that. All right, we're going to go with one of this year's nominees, Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, I think he will if he can, because he's already been inducted with Black Sabbath. So he was there.
All right.
Yeah, following Kevin's lead on that, I agree. I think he would as well, following like word for word what he just said.
Way to know your history, but do you know that he refused it at first?
I don't specifically recall that, but
He was not going to appear in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Black Sabbath. I don't know what conversations were had to get him there, but he eventually got there. And Ozzy's quote, "I'm deeply honored to receive this news from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to be one of the few musicians who's being considered for a second entry now as a solo artist is something I could have never have dreamed." All right, I'm giving you some softballs now. The Maiden thing, but I think you really actually got the Maiden right, and then reversed it anyway. All right, Motorhead.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel I can go both ways. I feel like yes, and I feel like there's the rock and roll part of it, and saying screw the system.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to be part of your organization, and this is who we are. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I don't know that that'll ever happen.
But if it did, would they do it? You're right. I don't think it would ever happen.
I mean, I think they, depends on who's still around, because, I think any of the surviving members, if they're around, would certainly do it to honor Lemmy, without a doubt.
And that's the speculation from Cleveland News, where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is based. So there's no direct quote that I have here. So it's less of a yes and more of a probably and probable. But of course, for that reason, to quote the news agency, the band would probably enjoy seeing their former band leader properly enshrined. Although we talked about this before, Lenny has his ashes in all types of like scattered places all around the world. So I think it's, with people, with rock stars, with rock venues, I can't think of a better way to enshrine Lenny than, in the way that he sprawled himself out across rock and roll after he died.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. What do we want to go with next? I'm going to go with one here for you, Kevin. Alice in Chains. Would they do it?
I think they would.
Mm-hmm. You have another death of a band member here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. John?
Yeah, I think it's the death of the band members. Yeah, it goes to the recognizing them. What's post-humor? What's the word? Post-death, whatever the word is.
Post-mortem?
No, it's post HUMO or something. I forget what. Anyhow, but it's post.
Posthumously?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
There you go.
And so that's if one of the members have passed away, I can see them trying to do it to recognize them, because I think there's things they might try to get while they're alive, and they're like, hell no, not in a million years. But then, people find a way to honor their bandmates that have passed, and they try to find a way to do that in any way possible. And it may not be what they originally wanted, but these people are acting and the best. And they're acting from their heart to try to do something nice to keep their memory alive. And so I would say yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's another one that I don't have a direct quote from. So again, from that news agency, we're going with a probably. So for all those reasons that you listed, and of course, they also make mention that Jerry Cantrell is very proud of his body of work, and so he appreciates recognition, and so it would be probable that they would enter. Do you have a quote for this one? It goes back to one of this year's nominees, your girl that you brought up, Cher.
I don't think we'll see if she gets in.
Is this what you were waiting to get to?
No,
Okay.
There's another one.
All right.
Maybe you're not going to bring it up.
I know, maybe not. I know. What did I leave out?
She's been on record often, and even recently, where she's like, "There's no effing way I'm going if I get inducted."
You heard the quote. I mean, that's where I was going to go with. Yeah. So we might have blown it for you there, John. So sorry about that.
Yeah, I was hoping Mariah Carey would beat her to it, but I guess not.
So right now, you're right. She's saying, no fucking way. I wouldn't be in it now if they gave me $1 million. So she's pissed.
Well, she doesn't need the money.
She doesn't need the money. But evidently she's pissed because she felt she should have been recognized a whole lot earlier.
And
that's true.
Yeah.
She's had a lot of major hits over a lot of years.
Solo and with her former husband.
All right, which band did you think I was going to get to?
Motley Crue.
Oh, I was not going to get to Motley Crue. So yeah, you want to go with that one?
Yeah, because there's been Nikki Sixx, most notably, has been on record publicly saying, we don't want to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're not going to show up if we get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Blah 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 blah. And That's all bullshit.
I absolutely think that they would take that induction in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. But that, that's what they do. They have to throw the fit before
Right.
they actually, take the reward. But they always take the reward. So
Yeah.
all right. So we'll go with one last one. Well, I'm going to go with two. We'll go with one more. Slayer. Would they do it? John, we'll start with you. Slayer.
Slayer.
Right.
No.
No. Just too evil?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna go no on that one. Just throw a different one out there.
I
think
would
no.
love to see
I
it
would love
if
to see it too.
happened to see who's going to show up and who's going to fight.
That's kind of it. Yeah.
Because we talked about it off the show. It was announced last week that Slayer, it just came out of the blue, right? Because Kerry King is releasing a solo album.
that's why I
he
brought it.
announced his solo band.
Right.
He announced he's going on tour. And then a week later, there's 2 headlining gigs announced at a couple of the big summer festivals of Slayer. And I guess I was reading an article, I don't remember, it was Loudwire or Ultimate Guitar, where I saw it, where Kerry King, they asked him about it, and he's like, no one has called me,
Yeah.
and I'm calling my lawyer.
Right.
So
You have Motley Crue Part 2.
Yes.
Happening with Slayer.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, how it was advertised is it was going to be Gary Holt, Kerry King, Tom Araya, and Paul Bostoff on drums. But Kerry King's like, nobody's talked to me,
Absolutely.
and I haven't talked to Tom Araya since we stopped touring.
Kerry King's a major force in that band. It's like, it is like Mick Morris. It's so much like Motley Crue. Like, how can you have Slayer?
You can't have Slayer without him.
Right.
And the diehards will say you can't have Slayer without Jeff Hanneman.
Yeah.
So,
But you can't have Jeff Hanneman. I mean, that's
you can't, right?
So that's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Does it put then the nostalgia factor for someone who's passed? Does that kind of up,
it could, but
everyone we've
you know,
talked
I think I think they're much like Iron Maiden and Metallica's in, and granted, Metallica is at a whole different level in terms of album sales, but the impact on music and thrash in particularly, Slayer is just as much a part of that and deserving to be in there. So they should be in. I don't know that they would take it though.
Well, Cleveland News says they probably would. There's no direct quote, but really kind of I think just because of recognition for thrash metal, and of course their extreme kind of take on thrash metal, they would do it just for that purpose.
And I think a lot of these people that say they wouldn't do it, they're going to do it because whether they think it's bad, good, whatever publicity, it's all good publicity in the end in terms of marketing their band, their history, all of that.
All right, so I'm going to throw out another one because this is fun. Oasis.
Would they show up?
Yeah. Would they do it?
I think so. I would think so.
That's another potential fist fight.
Yeah.
You get the Gallagher brothers going, yes.
Just like if you put the Black Crowes in, you never know what you might get. Yeah. I think they probably would.
So according to Liam Gallagher, it's a no. It's like putting me in the Rap Hall of Fame, and I don't want to be a part of anything that's mentally disturbed. Besides, I've done more rock and roll than half of the acts or half of the clowns on that board. It's all a load of bullocks. Fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's full of bumbaclarts. Whatever bumbaclarts.
look that one
I
up.
know. Yeah, exactly.
Balloon knots.
He told a fan, don't waste your time voting for us.
But I mean, if they don't feel that, if they feel that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is full of other people that don't meet their criteria, doesn't it take somebody that fits that criteria to step in and be like, this is what it's going to be from here on out, so let's change this and move forward? And
Right. And Oasis to me can get a little Motley Crue chesty, right? They have to throw a fit and then they take the reward. But they have to throw a fit before they do it.
I think, and John mentioned it, I forget which artist, but,
Mariah Carey.
I mean, going into the rock
I know
and
who's
roll,
on your ballot.
going into the, it was Soundgarden, going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a lot of for a lot of these acts is going to introduce them musically to a whole different audience.
Yes.
So I think a lot of these bands will bluster about it.
Right.
And I don't know that they all, and it's not 100% clear whether or not it was exactly why they didn't show up or not. But I think that, Rage is one of the bands that tend to stand by their principles, particularly Zach De La Rocha, and that's why he maybe didn't show up for the induction.
So that was going to be my next question. Not would they do it, but did they do it? So Rage Against the Machine, did they show up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and were they officially inducted?
Well, I haven't seen the show, but I saw the article that, Tom Morello was there.
Right.
So in theory, 1/4 of the band was there.
1/4 of the band showed up, and then I guess officially they are, they have a display in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But did they actually show up?
Well, they certainly didn't perform.
They did not. I'll read a quote from Tom Morello's speech, which we talked about this before. It was probably one of the best Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction speeches. It was very much a Harvard, crafted speech. It was very just well structured and put together. Like most bands, we're having differing perspectives on a lot of things, including being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The lesson I learned from Rage fans is that music can change the world. Daily, I hear from fans who have been affected by our music and in turn have affected the world in significant ways. So basically, that's the reason why he decided to show up.
Right.
But that's why he decided to show up. And then, of course, we saw what happened afterwards. Rage Against the Machine's not together anymore. So was it a contributing factor on their latest split?
Could have been.
Right.
For sure.
Right. So they're in there, but they're not together. And I don't know how other band members feel about them being, and it wasn't that, part of their first split was the reaction to the MTV Music Awards. And there was a heated debate about all of that.
I'm sure there's some chemical imbalances that are part of that too, but
all right, that's what I got. There's probably going to be continuing conversation as we keep getting news about bands and the reactions to all of this. So
I don't know if you guys have discussed before, but I remember seeing something years ago about I forget who it was who was inducted. Anyhow, they got they were given 2 tickets to go to it when they're inducted, and then if they wanted any more, it was like $10,000 or $20,000 a person. Have you guys discussed anything like that, or maybe we save that for another show?
That could another to be continued.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I know, because this is never going to right itself. We can debate this back and forth forever and a day.
The internet will as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, go Ozzy. I'd love to see Ozzy in there. He deserves it. I can't believe it took him this long to be nominated.
As a solo artist, for sure.
Right. I would say go Jane's Addiction, but they're not going to get in there, but they sure as shit belong. And that's Taylor Hawkins. I remember Taylor Hawkins in his acceptance speech. He just kind of looked up and he got one of his 3. He said Jane's Addiction, Soundgarden, and George Michael need to be here. You got George Michael. Rolling Stone likes George Michael the best.
Ronnie James Dio needs to be in there too. That's another conversation as well.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Well, so we'll be next show in a couple weeks, right?
2 weeks. We'll be back at it again, and we're going to talk to Spread Eagle live.
Yep.
And we'll talk to F It All. We'll probably bring F It All in if we can, and chat with those fellas about the upcoming show on Friday, March 22nd.
All right. So until then, keep rocking. We'll see ya.
Yeah.